Next up, we got the co-main event where we have the first of two title fights for UFC 255, and we have the women's flyweight great GOAT, if you want to call it, Valentina Shevchenko going up against Jennifer Maia, and we got, as you expected, super chalky odds on my girl Jennifer Maia. Right now, the line is sitting at minus 1250 and plus 800 for Jennifer Maia. And the fight doesn't go to decision is minus 210, which absolutely makes sense. So let's start off with Valentina Shevchenko. This breakdown is going to be short and sweet. There's no need to get into some crazy long-winded answer to tell you that Valentina Shevchenko is going to go out there and absolutely obliterate Jennifer Maia. We know Valentina Shevchenko. We know what she's all about. And in her last last five fights alone, she's gone out there and finished three of those five opponents. The only two that she wasn't able to put away, Joanna Jacek and then Liz Carmouche, who's very durable herself. But in that time, she's been able to dispose of Priscilla Cachoeira, Jessica Ai, and Katlyn Chookagian. And now here she is against Jennifer Maia, who almost like stumbled upon a title shot here. So the title shot was originally supposed to go to Joanne Calderwood back in June, but that was pre-COVID plans. And now COVID obviously fucked that up. Joanne Calderwood wanted to stay active. She takes a fight against Jennifer Maia, rolls the dice on herself, and she ends up getting tapped to an armbar from Jennifer Maia. So Shevchenko now, she has another, lamb being brought to the slaughter, another name to add to her belt, another jewel to add to that belt as well, whatever the hell they do with that new UFC belt. But what else are they supposed to do? Like, there isn't really much else out there for her in this this flyweight division. I just want to pull it up real quick to see. I'll leave that for the back end of this breakdown. So we know Shevchenko. She's fast. She's great with her jiu-jitsu. Her striking is on point. She doesn't really. Like her movement is weird. It's more static than anything in terms of like she bounces around kind of right in front of her opponent and then gets just out of the way of most of her opponent's strikes. But she's close enough to her opponents that when she wants to throw, she may not be able to reach with that 1-2, but she's always going to hit you with a leg kick that's probably coming as the third strike, which she was able to do, quite consistently against Katlyn Chookagian before the fight started getting dragged to the ground. That was a weird fight where Chookagian was just more than happy to engage in the ground. Like the exchange that led to the finish there, she right before actually getting taken down, she almost like pulled guard. It was so weird. Like she was just accepting of getting taken down. She got taken down, and then Shevchenko like pretty much immediately got into the crucifix position and started raining down shots, and that was pretty much the beginning of the end there for Katlyn Chookagian. But Shevchenko can pretty much do it anywhere she wants. Whether it's on the ground, whether it's on the feet, she's going out there and outstriking Holly Holm in a 5-round fight. She's going out there and, out jiu-jitsuing Katlyn Chookagian, who a lot of people, they kind of thought that was her, little rabbit in the hat, where she was just going to pull it on and be like, hey, I'm not just a striker. I can go out there and use my submissions. And that was something a lot of people were hammering during that fight week for Katlyn. But Shevchenko goes out there and just obliterates her on the ground too. There's no facet that Shevchenko has pretty much been beaten in, other than her fights against Amanda Nunes. That third fight, even though she's 0-2 to Nunes, those two fights were really fucking close. That you could absolutely make a case for Shevchenko for winning those fights. So if we do stumble upon a third fight, I'd be totally on board for that, because she's going to continue to go out there and just absolutely bust some of these girls like Jennifer Maia. So let's not forget, Jennifer Maia 2 fights ago, she lost a decision to Katlyn Chookagian because she wasn't able to track her down. Katlyn Chookagian did a really good job of like keeping her feet moving, landing her strikes from distance, and then getting out of the way. And Jennifer Maia was absolutely dumbfounded in terms of what she could do. Mainly a Muay Thai fighter coming from the shoot to box camp, the famed shoot to box camp that people love talking about. That's where Jennifer Maia, kind of paid her dues. And then she became a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well, which she was able to show off in that fight against Joanne Calderwood. If you guys remember my breakdown of that Jennifer Maia fight with Joanne Calderwood, I was very much underrating the ground game of Jennifer Maia. Like the times that we have seen her on the ground in her past fights, most notably the Alexis Davis fight, we saw her struggle to get back to her feet. We saw her struggle to implement her jiu-jitsu. So for her to go out and pull a armbar against Joanne Calderwood kind of was like a oh shit kind of moment for us here. I mean, Joanne Calderwood, a lot of people are saying there's a lot of steam on her just because of the wins that she was able to accrue going into that Jennifer Maia fight that essentially like got her a title shot. But let's look at those fights that got her that title shot. So the title, the fight that got her, she was 1-1. Joanne Calderwood herself lost to Caitlin Chikagian, which is fucking hilarious. That Caitlin Chikagian is the one beating all these girls, pretty much right before they get a win to get a title shot at Valentina Shevchenko. So. Yeah, Joanne Calderwood, her last 4 fights before Jennifer Maia, beats Kalindra Faria via triangle armbar, beats Ariane Lipski via decision, loses to Caitlin Chikagian, so Chikagian gets the title shot right after that, and then Joanne Calderwood goes out there and split decisions Andrea Lee in a very, very, very close fight, and then she gets a title shot, or was scheduled to get a title shot. Unfortunately for her, she goes in there, like I said, gambles, rolls the dice against Jennifer Maia, and gets armbar. So it's kind of just like, okay, Joanne Calderwood really isn't that great, and a girl like Jennifer Maia could absolutely beat her. And let's not forget that the odds pretty much going into that fight were plus 145 for Jennifer Maia. So there was a lot of love on Joanne Calderwood there. But Jennifer Maia, she's beaten every aspect here. I don't see how in any way that she's going to beat Valentina Shevchenko. Shevchenko is just built differently. Like if you physically look at her compared to every other 125er out there, she looks like a fighter. Like she looks like the prime example of a girl that's going to go out there and beat your ass, and that's exactly what she does to pretty much 99% of the opponents she goes out there and fights. It's ridiculous. Like it's not even fair. She has a cheat code as to why she's able to go out there and just murk some of these girls the way she is. So the question more so is for these Shevchenko fights, is she going to win by decision or is she going to win inside the distance? Because that's pretty much the only like the only competitive odds that you'll normally get on these Shevchenko fights. So I do think that she'll go out there and finish Jennifer Maia. Like the one fight that I did call her recently to win via decision, she ended up winning by decision, which was the Liz Carmouche fight, who again is quite durable and does a good job of not getting finished. Jessica I definitely knew that she was going to go out there and knock her out, knock her silly. Like she was able to just set up traps that eventually led to that head kick knockout, which is one of the greatest knockouts of all time. A lot of people thought that Shevchenko was going to go in there and decision her. I'm like, just look at all the mistakes that Jessica I makes. Look how slow she is. Look at how, she's quite repetitive in her combinations. Valentina is going to easily pick up on those combinations and then find a perfect counter, and that's exactly what she did. Or even just set traps for Jessica, and that's exactly what she did. Jennifer Maia, to me, seems like a girl that Valentina can go out there and set traps against. And I'm fully expecting Shevchenko to go out there and finish her. I don't know if it's going to be a submission, but I could absolutely see it being a knockout on the feet. I do believe that the majority of this fight will be contested on the feet, but Shevchenko could absolutely go John Jones on the shit and, be like that champion that just goes out there and beats opponents at their own game. So whether it's the Muay Thai, whether it's the Jiu-Jitsu, whatever it is, Shevchenko is going to do her thing and get the finish. So I'm going to say second or third round finish for Shevchenko after she really starts to feel this fight out, set up those traps, whatever it is. But I truly like Shevchenko to go out there and ragdoll Jennifer Maia. But in terms of like worthy contenders for Shevchenko, God damn. So Jessica Andrade goes out there, finishes Caitlin Chikagian, and now finds herself as the number one, or the number one, at least in the UFC ranking. So maybe that's the next person after Jennifer Maia for Valentina Shevchenko. In terms of like proper, proper justification for getting a title shot, I think Jessica Andrade should have to go out there and beat at least one more opponent, but I don't think they're going to be doing that. Cynthia Calvillo is fighting Caitlin Chikagian next, so that could potentially produce, if Calvillo wins, she could potentially be a number one contender. But yeah, there's nobody really on the come up right now that has me thinking, okay, this girl should be the one to go out there and dethrone Valentina Shevchenko. Yeah, this list is tough. Viviane Araújo still has a little bit of work to do. Macy Barber definitely still has work to do. Jessica Andrade is probably the funnest fight that we could potentially make for Shevchenko if she's able to get by Maia, which she absolutely will. And I'd be down for that. Even if it's just off that one win over Chikagian, I'm absolutely down with that. All right, so final prediction on this fight before I start rambling on. I told you this was going to be short and sweet, but I love breaking down Shevchenko. I love talking about how great she is because she is absolutely great. She's definitely one of the GOATs. And it's going to be really, really hard to see anybody go out there and actually beat this woman unless her name is Amanda Nunes. You know what I mean? So I'll go with Shevchenko. I'm going to go within the distance. Parlaying her at minus 1250 has little to no value, so I don't think anybody should be doing that. I think the line, if your bookies allow it, the line that you want to be parlaying is Shevchenko to win inside the distance. I'm interested to see where actually the over under drops at. Like if it's 3.5 or 4.5, I'd absolutely take the under. But if it's 2.5 or 1.5, then I'd rather just go with Shevchenko inside the distance. So those are the two plays, or most the plays that I like the most. We don't have odds on them yet. The only odds we do have that would give us an indication of what it would potentially look like is the fight doesn't go to decision, which is minus 210, which leads me to believe that Shevchenko inside the distance, maybe opening, would be about minus 150, minus 160. So just keep your eye out for that whenever that drops. All right, final prediction, Valentina Shevchenko via second or third round KO.